let's start at the beginning here. You're finally standing on the beach. You're talking to Jeff. You've made it. You're on Survivor. How are you feeling in that moment?
I think I was so stunned, Sarah. Like, there's no way to prepare for like the dream of all dreams that you've been wanting since you were 6 years old. I think that entire first challenge, I was like blacked out. Like, I barely remember it. Surreal doesn't even cover it.
Oh, and did you have any first impressions of your tribe and your tribe mates?
Oh yeah, on the boat ride in, I was sitting next to Kane, and I was watching him fiddle with his fingers, and there was something about his mannerisms, and just I felt like I could like see his thoughts. I was like, I want to work with that guy. Lauren, I immediately wanted to work with. I loved her vibe. We were making eyes at each other. It's so crazy, like the human instincts just click
Mhm.
in and you find your people very quick. So something we didn't see a lot of, but Kane and Lauren, I was working very closely with.
Okay. And then when you're at camp, those first 4 hours, Matthew and Brandon are kind of separated. Was there more bonding at this point?
Yes, I think that those first few hours are like sacred.
Mhm.
And you definitely see those lines through the first vote. So it was time where Kane and I were able to come to each other and be like, I want to work with you. It was time for me and Lauren to get together and be like, I want to work with you. And clearly it was time for Brandon and Matthew to make some sort of alliance as well.
Mhm. When did you become suspicious of Brandon? Was it this birdcage key situation?
Definitely. Where it really starts is my suspicion with Matthew,
Okay.
which we didn't see any of and is so critical to the vote. I mean, that vote does not happen without Matthew, and I'll explain
Mhm.
why. So from the get-go, I'm a wild card. Like, I'm playing this game head first, full throttle from day one. And you know who else is doing that? One other person, Matthew. Like,
Mhm.
guys climbing rocks, getting his arm popped out. Like, he is crazy. And real recognize real. I'm crazy too. So I was like, I want to play with people who like Kane. I know how Kane thinks. I know how Lauren thinks. I knew how Brandon thought. And I wanted to play with Brandon. You see that when he finds Idol, I say, dude, let me help you. Like, don't tell the tribe. Like, I got you.
Mhm.
So I wanted to play with Brandon. I didn't want to play with Matthew. I wanted that guy out first. I didn't trust him at all, which becomes my downfall because eventually I let Matthew in on the plan about Brandon, and that idol does not get played without Matthew telling Brandon. And that's
Mhm.
what we don't see is that he was the puppeteer. I was the puppeteer of everyone else, and Matthew was the puppeteer of the guy with the idol.
What was that moment like when you were saying to Brandon, like, let's keep it a secret? Could you see in his face, like, I don't know about this? And then does he just like scream off like the edit makes it seem?
Yeah, a little bit like that. We talked that when I go, wait, like, let's talk about this. I
Yeah.
did that like 3 times.
Mhm.
Like, he would go away and be like, Brandon, don't do it, dude. Like, don't tell everyone that it's gonna be an idol. When we open the cage, it's gonna be an idol. You're gonna read in front of the entire tribe that you have an idol. Don't do it. And then it's so funny watching him read the parchment in front of the entire tribe. I'm just standing in the background, like, told you so.
Yeah, whoops. We rarely get to see the physically strong players get targeted in the first tribal. What was your strategy boiled down here, especially Brandon versus Matthew? Was that a consideration?
Yes. A few things. I came in to play to win, but I also came in with an agenda of like, I will not let a woman go first. I won't do it. And the guys were coming up to me and saying, we're voting for Lauren. They had the wrong girl. You're not going to come up to me and tell me with no rhyme or reason why I'm going to vote out another woman. You got the wrong girl.
Mhm.
Um, so that was part of my strategy. And, that's like part of my downfall too, right? Like, you should have one focus if you want to win Survivor, and it's to win Survivor, come hell or high water. And for me, like, I had an agenda. I wanted to play the game differently than I've ever seen anyone play it. I wanted to protect the women and change the tides of this norm that we've created, that you just vote out a woman at the beginning and a majority vote. And I did that. We've never ever had an idol played at the first tribal council. We've never ever had the person go home who was orchestrating the whole strategy around the tribal council. And we've never had someone go home idled out with the majority of votes on their side.
Mhm.
Um, so, you know, it's, I'm not too cool to say I'm devastated. I'm devastated. You see how much potential I had, and it's hard to watch someone with so
Mhm.
much potential go home. And I am devastated. However, I went in with an agenda and I did what I said I was going to do, and I would do it again. And next time I would pull it off.
We see you work really hard to get this vote on Brandon. As you go into tribal, where do you think the votes are? What is the plan here?
So one thing I wish there was more time for, because this is such an all-star cast, so there just wasn't enough time because we all rock. And it's okay because I go first, you don't get my full story. But going into tribal, I knew that it was ballsy. I knew. I'm not dumb. I knew it was a 50-50 chance. I was rock climbing without a rope with tons of exposure and scary rocks under me. And you either get off the wall, you get up the wall, or you miss a rock and you fall. I knew it was going to be close, but I was calling Brandon's bluff. And that's how we
Mhm.
were the whole time. I mean, he's just like, it's such, I love the conflict here. Like he's a 6'4", like extremely competitive, former professional athlete who literally got paid to be competitive. And then you have me, a 5'2" little Polly Pocket, who is not a professional athlete, but is like delusional and like so confident. And I was like, you met your match, dude. Like, I'm not standing down. Um, so I knew going in that it was a precarious situation, but I also had my pulse on the tribe, and um, I knew the only way I was going home is if Matthew had told Brandon,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what happened. So
So you did think that you had most votes on Brandon, and you were just hoping that Brandon didn't play his idol.
exactly. And I'm a
And
long Survivor fan. No one's ever played an idol at the first tribal, and Brandon's an old school kind of player. So I thought he would hold on to his idol like we typically see. So good on.
right. And so did you know Lauren couldn't vote? Was that
I
clear?
did. Yes. And this is another consideration of why I pivoted my target from Matthew to Brandon. Lauren was working with me. She told me about the advantage. She also told
Mhm.
Brandon. So once I got that piece of information, I thought, well, there's so many reasons for me to want to pivot from Matthew to Brandon. Brandon refuses to work with me as much as I want to work with him. He now has an idol that I'm certain he's going to use against me at some point. And he's working with this person who I could be their number one if
Mhm.
I can get him out. Um, so yes, I did know that Lauren wasn't going to vote, and I didn't care. I wasn't being controlling of like, everyone has to do what I want to say. I said, Lauren, let me make this work for you. If you don't want to work for Brandon because you gave him your word, if you don't want to vote for Brandon because you gave him your word, you never would vote for him, don't vote. I don't care.
And then Jamie and Matthew both play their shot in the dark. This has to worry you or confuse you at this point.
Yes. I started getting worried when Jamie started talking more. Because I had created all this chaos. I came in like a tornado, and we only had 45 minutes or so. I don't know what time it was before tribal because our challenge lasted very long. So I thought, I'm going to stir up a bunch of crap. I'm going to confuse everyone until it's time to go, and there won't be enough time for everyone else to pick up the pieces, and it'll be fine. And again, I only needed a few votes. If Brandon's not playing his idol and he thinks Jamie or Lauren's going home, mind you, I was never on the chopping block. If he thinks that Lauren or Jamie is going home, this is like a clean blindside.
Mhm.
But my worry about Matthew came true, and that's where the game catches you, right? I couldn't find Kane. I let Matthew in on the vote, and he's the person who told Brandon. And then Jamie talking at tribal, I think, only solidified Brandon's concern and got him to do the one thing that was going to get me home. There was one way I was going home if Brandon played his idol.
And when he plays it, is that you're thinking that the vote is on you, or was it a possibly Lauren or somebody else?
Yeah, you're actually right. I should have provided more safety for myself. I should have split the vote. um, and given myself a better plan B. My plan B that was in place was he is going to vote for Lauren or Jamie. And so even if he plays his idol and then we go back to camp and it's this awkward thing where he then knows that we all were conspiring against him, at least it's not me who goes. But Matthew tipped him off, and great move by Matthew because he recognized the same thing in me. I was a huge threat and Matthew's a huge threat. So he stole my homework and put his name on it, but he came out on top.
How do you feel about Ratu now moving forward without you?
Okay.
How are they going to do?
One thing I wish that we saw more of was like from the beginning, everybody was so kumbaya. I wanted to blow that place to smithereens. It was like, get me out of Ratu. Like I was not, I loved all those people, but apart from Kane, I wasn't interested in playing with Matthew or with Brandon long term. And Lauren and Jamie were just playing a different game than me. So as much as I wanted to play with them, I was willing to play with them to a certain point. And Kane and I would always say, like, let's just get out of Ratu. Like, we got to like sail this boat into the merge. And I wish that we had, because I think you would have seen a lot more of what I pulled if it had worked. And it was so close to working.
Yes. Well, if you could sum up this entire Survivor experience in one word, what would it be?
I would say thrilling.
Thrilling. Yes.
Yeah, I love not knowing what's going to happen, and I sort of thrive on chaos, and I think you all saw that. And it's like the only way I know how to play. So, yeah, it was thrilling.
You're such a classic Aries. I love it.
Are you an Aries?
No, but I'm a Sagittarius. I'm similar, but
Okay.
You Aries, you know how to go out there and go against the big competitive guy.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Maddy.
Thank you so much. So great talking with you.